You are listening to your New Puppies Podcast, starting you and your dog off on the right paw. Here's your host, Debbie Salento.
Hello and welcome to Your New Puppies Podcast. I'm Debbie, and this week I'm doing something a little different. I've put together a mini training for future puppy owners called the 3 Phases to Bringing Your New Puppy Home. Now, I've already released the training. It's a series of 3 videos, so 1 video for each phase, and that is on my website at playtimepaws.com/prep. So that's playtimepaws.com/PREP. And all 3 videos are there. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to give you the audio version of these videos. So keep that in mind as you're listening, because a couple times I might reference something that's on the screen that obviously you can't see, but even that is minimal. So that's why I thought it would be just as beneficial if you prefer to just listen to the audio on this podcast. So I am going to release each one over the next week. So if you're listening to this in real time, there's one today, one Wednesday, and one on Friday. So again, this is for future puppy owners because I'm going to be talking about preparing for your puppy and those first few days home and what you need to concentrate on now and what can wait till later. So let's get down to it. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to this mini training on the 3 phases to bringing your new puppy home. I decided to do this because we talk all about what it takes to raise a puppy. You know, you got to do the potty training, the crate training, but those first few days are very different than what you're going to do for the rest of the time. And so often we skip right over them. So that's exactly what I am going to address in this little mini lesson. So my goal is to ease that transition by giving you exactly what you need to concentrate on when, and what you can just worry about later. So you are in the right place if you are a future puppy owner, you know you're bringing them home, and getting started right is really important to you, and maybe you're a little worried about those first few days. I've got you covered. But before we get to all of that, let me introduce myself. You may or may not know who I am. Well, I'm Debbie, and I'm a dog trainer. But that term doesn't always define what I do. And that's because I want to teach you how to see the world through your dog's eyes, how dogs learn, why dogs act the way they do, so that when you shut down this video or I walk out your front door, you are prepared to be able to move forward with your dog's training. My journey started over 10 years ago when I left the corporate world to build a life around dogs. And at the time, I was a pet sitter. So even in that industry and doing that job, I started to study dog behavior and immediately became fascinated by it and found that I really kind of understood it. And that's when I realized not all dog owners really understand dog behavior. So I found my passion in teaching other dog owners how to have that well-mannered, well-behaved dog that they want. By learning the bigger picture of communicating with your dog beyond a few commands or just addressing the behaviors that you don't want as they come up. And that is what brings us here today. I also have a podcast called Your New Puppy, which you can find wherever you listen to podcasts. And they're nice, short, to the point episodes all about the different challenges and the different things you need to know to raise a new puppy. And I also have a course for new puppy owners, which, full disclosure, I'm going to tell you all about at the end. So once we go through and I give you some really great actionable information on how to bring your puppy home, I'll tell you all about the course because that would be the obvious next step. And by the end of this lesson, you're going to get to know me a little better. You're going to understand my style. So if you do want to continue training with me, you'll be able to make that decision with confidence. So let's get down to why you are here. So the 3 phases to bringing your puppy home is phase 1, prepare, and that's exactly what we're going to go over in this video. Phase 2 is settle in, and that's exactly what you need to do those first few days home. And then phase 3 is get to work. So let's take a look at these on a timeline. So phase 1 is going to be before you even bring your puppy home. And then phase 2 will be day 1. So the day you bring your puppy home through about day 3. And then phase 3 is day 4 and beyond. So obviously that is the longest, most complicated phase, but no worries. I'm going to give you the exact place to start there as well. So let's jump right on into phase 1, prepare. So this is before you even bring your puppy home. So the most obvious thing that we should talk about is the supplies. So these are the supplies I highly recommend having the day your puppy comes home. Over time, you're going to accumulate a lot more supplies than this, but this is what I want you to have on hand. So you're going to need their crate, including any blankets or bed or towels that are going to go inside or even around the outside. You're going to want a collar and a small leash. And I say a small leash because you want one that isn't too clunky. So it's a thinner strap and a lighter clip. You'll see when you look at leashes. And then of course you're going to need food and bowls to put the food and water in, and cleaning supplies because accidents are going to start right away. So you are going to want to have those cleaning supplies on hand. And then some treats and toys because you're going to want to start creating good associations with things right away. And they can also act as buffers in those first few days, especially if you have kids, but we'll talk about that more in phase 2. And then a couple optional supplies I have are just gates and pens, because it's going to depend on how you set up your house, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But if you do need them, you're going to want them set up before the puppy even comes home. So something that a lot of future puppy owners don't really think about until you need them is finding your support system. So these are the professionals that are going to be helping you take care of your dogs. And I highly recommend at least doing some research, have a short list ready before your puppy even comes home. That way you'll avoid that rush and that panic where I need a veterinarian or a dog walker now, and you might be forced to just take the first one that's available. If you start doing your research now, then you can get recommendations, maybe even go visit them and ask them questions and make a really good, solid decision that you're happy with. In addition to the fact, you're simply going to have less time once you have a puppy running around the house. Now it's time to start talking about preparing your home. So something I talk about a lot, not only on my podcast, but inside my course, is that you want to keep your dog's world small and grow it slowly. This is especially important the first few days. So I want you to take a look around, and are there places that maybe you can section off to keep the puppy safe and make supervision easier? This is where the gates and pens might come into play. So maybe you can block off your kitchen or your living room, or maybe you just put a big pen inside your living room. This is going to make things a lot easier because you want a place where you can spend time with your puppy, but they're not able to escape around the corner and have an accident or get into trouble or grab something you weren't prepared for. This will also include blocking off stairs or rooms you just don't want your puppy in. And if your house isn't set up in a way that makes this easy, maybe think about getting some kind of rope or leash you're going to be able to tie to yourself so your puppy's going to be tethered to you. It's also going to make it easier when you start to remove the unsafe items. So you can start with this smaller area. And this is where you're going to need to see the world through your puppy's eyes. Like, I recommend getting down on your hands and knees, because if a puppy can put their mouth on it, they are going to. So maybe something needs to go on a higher shelf or just removed from the room completely and put in that back room that the puppy is not going to be allowed in. I also want you to take a good, hard look at your stuff. Assume the puppy will destroy it. And if you would be devastated by that, that is something else you're going to have to remove or cover up and put away until the puppy is older, maybe potty trained, out of the chewing stage, which could be up to 18 months. I know sometimes this is difficult, especially if it's a piece of furniture or a rug or your floor itself. I do have clients who will buy a cheap rug they don't care about and either replace the rug that's there or put it over the rug or even on their nice hardwood floors until the puppy is better potty trained, because they will have accidents. And also know that no matter how much work you put in to preparing your house, puppies have a way of finding stuff you forgot you even owned. That's where supervision is going to come in, which we're also going to talk about more in phase 2. This is also the perfect time to set up the crate. Since you've already taken a look at your house, you kind of know where the puppy's going to hang out. So wherever you plan on having him sleep and hang out in this crate, you can set it up. This doesn't have to happen till like the night before, but you do want it there when you bring the puppy home, because we do start using the crate from day 1. Now, last but certainly not least, but a step we sometimes skip, is prepare yourself. We've already talked about how puppies destroy things. They will probably ruin something that you love, no matter how hard you try to prevent it. They don't understand the concept of possessions and money and valuable things, and to them, walking into a new environment, everything is a chew toy until we teach them otherwise. But that takes time. Something else that we kind of know, but we also kind of ignore, is that you're not going to be able to go back to your old life. You're going to have a pre-puppy life and a post-puppy life. And just like with any big change, which, mark my word, this is a big change, there is going to be chaos for a little while until you find your new rhythm. It's when people and families get a dog and they try to go back to their old life and they try to fit this living, breathing thing that has its own needs into their old schedule, their old life. That trouble starts. That's where frustration sets in, overwhelm happens, especially for parents, and then training goes out the window and it becomes a stressful experience instead of a fun one. Because even though this is gonna be a lot of work and there's gonna be a lot of changes, let's remember that this is a puppy. It should be a fun experience for everybody. I also want you to clear your schedule. You are not gonna get anything done when this puppy first comes home. I usually recommend at least a week where you are home with the puppy when you bring them home, because during the settle in phase, you definitely want to be there. It's really important for you to be there. And then once you get to work and we enter phase 3, you want as much time as possible to continue to help your puppy settle in and find this new rhythm with them. And finally, you're going to have some sleepless nights. For some, it's going to be a couple days. For others, it might last a week or 2. There's really no way around it. You just got to be prepared and maybe buy an extra bag or 2 of coffee. So now that we've gotten our supplies, we've prepared our house, we've researched our support system, and we have prepared ourselves, it's time to bring that puppy home. Okay, so that was phase 1. So if you're listening to this in real time, I'll see you in a couple days for phase 2. Otherwise, you can jump right over to the next episode, or you can go to playtimepause.com/prep. So that's playtimepause.com/PREP. And all the videos are already there waiting for you. I'll be speaking with you soon. Bye for now.